I'm live here in Washington, D.C. I'm with the Arundel Patriot, and I just came out because the city is starting to come alive, and I wanted to get some interviews with people in Washington about what they've gone through during COVID and what they're going through. So this gentleman's name is Radcliffe.
Hi.
1 second, Radcliffe. Okay, how you doing, Radcliffe?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
I'm doing well. I wanted to talk to you because I could tell you were one of those friendly people that likes to talk.
Not really.
Not really?
No, I'm just being
You are friendly.
a little. I'm being accommodating.
Accommodating. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to check. You know, there's so much has been going on in Washington. Like, what has the effect been on you, your friends? You know, dealing with protests and lockdowns. I mean, it's been a hell of a 2020.
Okay. Well, first the lockdown. Hold on for a minute.
I don't want to do a your video. I think that they make for you make the
No, it was look, it was on him.
no now him before the him you make your phone
Don't worry, you're not on it.
face the me.
Okay.
I seen there.
Okay.
You must delete.
Okay.
No, it's a problem.
Okay.
I don't want.
You get a lot of that.
Yeah.
So welcome to Washington D.C. Let me hit the lockdown real quick.
Yeah.
The lockdown is
I'll
really
meet you over there, Terry.
okay, and I'll be done in a minute. The
All
lockdown is very autocratic, and I won't go into why they're doing the lockdown or whatever. I just how it affects somebody, a regular person like me. Like I say, I do most of my work here down in DC. I'm a blogger, likewise, and bears. And one of the most interesting things about this lockdown that the city did for me was that they locked down all the laundromats. It was very hard for us. Want me to move that over?
Yeah. Thank you.
It was very hard. It's very hard to get your clothes washed. So if you don't live in a nice condo with a laundry facility or a laundry or wash and dry in your house, they never thought about this. All the people who live in places where you don't have a built-in washer and you have to rely on the laundromats. And then when they finally allowed one laundromat to open up the other day, they required these crazy masks. Now, I don't believe in the mask thing. I really don't. So yesterday, 2 days ago when I had to wash, I went into the laundromat without a mask and the guy called the police on me. Now, put that in context with the other issue that's going on in Washington, D.C. about how much they have used the police to really make black people feel very uncomfortable in this country. And you see a paradox here. Here we have this massive march in DC dealing with police brutality or allegations thereof. And here's this man calling the police on me simply because I went into a laundromat, put my clothes in, and was willing to walk out, stay outside, and come back in and put my clothes into the dryer and walk back out. So what I'm saying here is the government is detached from what people would consider to be the common people. This is just one illustration of that. They don't think about how this sudden shutdown puts people in very compromising situations based upon very specious allegations of a floating virus. If there's a virus flying around and you have dirty clothes in your apartment full of the alleged virus and you don't wash your clothes, then you're gonna get sick with the virus hoarding in your apartment. So that's just one way. If you want to ask some questions, you can. But
Yeah. So you have a very lovely accent, just a little bit. Sounds like you've been here for a while, so I can't trace it. Tell me where you're
very
from.
long. I've been here for a very long time. Sorry. I'm from Jamaica originally. Yeah.
So you say you're a blogger about policy. What kind of policy things do you talk about in your blog? And you can say what your blog is so people can look you up.
It's okay. My blog is it's a hard word to remember. It's intellexe, and I keep it that way because basically, it the blog is not about trying to be popular. It's about documenting things that I say come across my desk relative to public policy. I have touched on world affairs. I've touched on domestic affairs. I've touched on various issues dealing with how both corporations and the public deal with people, and that's what the blog is about. I haven't written up enough about this lockdown or the demonstrations because one of the things that lockdown has been doing is to keep bloggers in a compromising situation where lesser bloggers who don't have wonderful studios and a lot of equipment can't get to use the internet cafe forums to do their work, which was a big industry here in DC. A lot of people relied on a lot of these cafes to plug them, the Starbuckses and the Koses and so on. And they would sit there and do their work. And they would meet and greet and meet people. And, you know, blogging comes with consulting. You kind of do the blogging, and up until last year, you made your money off consulting, whether it's consulting relative to computers or consulting relative to litigation support. What they want people to do is stay in their homes and do their work. It kills the marketing and the meet and greet and the networking infrastructure that drives the market. So with that, I have not been able to put out, I've written more than I've been able to publish, because, you know, when you publish things, you're right, you have to do the grammar checks and so on to make sure that things look somewhat sane. So the work product has diminished relative to what is being put out. And I think that was by design, personally. I think that a lot of people in high places really did not want to have alternative points of views out there when they start to make their campaigns or their push for the upcoming election season. And that's a bad thing. I think that in the free marketplace of ideas, the voices from all spectrums need to be adequately heard. And that points right to, I think it was 47 U.S. Code Section 230, which empowers these large forums to actually block dissenting points of views. And I think that's a very dangerous thing for the Western world and for the free world. So it's a little bit of a run-on there, but that's how.
That's actually very interesting because we are from the Arundel Patriot, and we're a startup press, an activist press, and a guerrilla type organization. As you saw, I just pulled this out of a bag and started interviewing you, and that's kind of how we operate. So, you know, that's a really good point about what you're saying about people not being able to really get out independent thought in this time. Let me just ask you one more quick question about, you know, being in DC and being a black man and watching the Black Lives Matter protests and all the support and the crowds. What does it feel like for you?
Off the top of my head, there's a duality there. But to backtrack a little, one of the reasons, aside from one of the reasons why an easier place to live and work, even if I have an address outside of the city, is because within the city it's harder. It's actually harder within this city. I can't speak for all cities. It's actually harder for rogue cops to harm black men. But out in the suburbs, you're totally exposed, and you are at the will and whim of people who may have ulterior motives. They can falsely accuse you. The police can shoot you. The police can do whatever, and it's very, very much harder to basically thrive. You know, the term "I can't breathe" that so many black men have died saying really spills over on a greater area to the I can't breathe. In other words, I don't have breathing room to be a productive member of society under those constraints. But that said, the entire Black Lives Matters movement itself has very curious funding sets, and it seems as if they're very compromised, in which that they end up actually supporting a lot of the people who do not have their best interests at heart relative to Black Lives Matters alive. So that's something to look into. And so off the top of my head, I'll put it that way, but I want to throw barbs beyond that and say that's something that just people who may have a different way of thinking may need to look into a little more. What's really going on behind the scenes? Who's really harming blacks? Who's really harming people? Who's really harming our lives? That's something to look into.
Thank you so much, Radcliffe. If you ever would like to share one of your blogs, we are the Arundel Patriot, and I'm going to give you my business card.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to talk to you. My name is Vicky, and I will give you a card before I go, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Nice to talk to you.
It's a pleasure.